for our kids. High school is hard. Middle school is hard. Peer pressure is hard. All these things are hard. When you amplify it and make it totally ubiquitous through social media, what do you expect? And is it Facebook's fault?
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a social media experiment because these platforms came online in the same way that most technologies do, where we don't know what to expect under the circumstances. And it takes a number of years before people become really responsible with it. I mean, there was a time when the telephone looked like the big threat to society. I mean, I remember, and I've looked back at New York Times articles from the late 19th century that say that people are going to stop completely going out of the house because of the advent of the telephone. It does take time before new technologies start to be used in a very responsible way. Some people talk about regulating social media like the new tobacco. Because it has certain addictive properties, to be sure. It stimulates dopamine in the human brain, and it makes it very hard to control. I don't think that's actually the right way to do it. I think that there are a lot of things that have addictive properties that are really good for us, like carbohydrates, for example. And I think social media and screens and devices can really enhance our lives. We've gone overboard, and we haven't figured out how to protect our kids yet.
We go headlong into a lot of things, wonder about biotech sometimes, whether we've thought and now look what we're dealing with, whether we've thought everything out in terms of that. So we're headlong into this, haven't thought about any of the possible downside to this. Is it Facebook's fault? And is the cure or the answer in poor Mark Zuckerberg and how he manages Facebook?
Well, we always want to look at the entrepreneur. We want to look at the founder and say, since you didn't see every possible outcome of this, then therefore you're at fault. And I don't think that's right. I think that the responsible thing to do is for all of us, including Facebook, be looking at ways that we can counter this overuse, particularly among young people. But by the way, it's not just young people, Joe. I have colleagues in academia who haven't published a book since 2008 because they write 30 Twitter messages a day. They're eating their seed corn. They're completely hopelessly addicted. And in your business, journalists who basically destroyed their credibility by saying everything they actually think, really partisan things on Twitter. So social media has been a scourge for a lot of people. We just haven't learned how to use it appropriately yet. And I think that Facebook and the leadership of these platforms can get better at figuring out a way that it's not. I mean, here's the key, Joe. If you want social media to ruin your life, make it a substitute for your human relationships. If you want it to help your life and make you happier, it's got to be a complement to your human relationships. You figure out what your friends are doing. You get some essential information, then you leave it, and you don't do it more than half an hour a day across all the platforms. And until people actually start using it responsibly, we have safeguards in place for our kids, it's going to be the problem. And I think that the leadership can lead the way. I think that Facebook can actually show how to make this a more complementary technology for our lives, as opposed to simply making it a substitute, and it results in all these deleterious consequences that we're seeing.